Welcome into Rollin Illini here on WPGU 107.1 and UPTV. We're looking great today. We're all dressed alike if you can see us on UPTV. We are perfect.
We have our fresh new white t-shirts with the Rollin Illini logo on there.
That's definitely a special shout out to Ryan's mom. Thank you so much. I feel like a new man in this shirt.
A few lucky listeners, maybe they'll get one, who knows?
We'll see about that.
Keep an eye out.
Oh, feels good to be back.
Yes. James Boyd back and better than ever. Will Gerard here. Jason with UPTV is back. And I'm Ryan Wilson. We have a great show today. Kind of quick, actually. Gonna be bing, bang, boom, and then Illini hockey. So we have Illini hockey at 6:45-ish. So today's show will go from 6 to 6:30. But it'll be jam-packed with content. Good stuff.
We'll just have to talk twice as fast today.
Let's talk really fast and we'll keep going.
And if you love us, I guess you can stick around and hope that we overlap the hockey game, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think so. So we have an interview with a Scottish Paralympian, Sammi Kinghorn. Great person. Just like her coach, Ian Murphin. So they were on campus here this week prior to Sunday's Chicago Marathon. So what's nice about having the Paralympic training facility here on campus is that leading up to a marathon, I can see you, Will.
Oh yeah, just move the monitor a little bit. Gotta get a good look at your face.
Yes, great. Leading up to a marathon in Chicago, athletes are staying around campus. Like, we have some athletes from Japan staying on campus or in the Champaign-Urbana community, either with some Illinois wheelchair racers, or they took advantage of Airbnb and capitalized on a house of some sort. And they stay around the area and train with Illinois, train with Tatiana, Amanda McRoy, Susanna Scaroni. Not a bad gig.
Not at all, actually.
Yeah.
Some pretty potent names right there.
Yeah, so with Sammi Kinghorn and her coach, they came down from Scotland. I wish I had a Scottish accent. It's great. So they came down from Scotland, staying around the area, training with everybody. And so I sat down with her for 10 minutes in Adam Blakeney's office. It was great. Here it is. I am now joined by Sammi Kinghorn of the UK. How are you doing, Sammi?
Yeah, I'm really well, thank you very much.
Great. I'm glad to have you. We are in Adam Blakeney's office here. We have taken over his office, and I feel very official in here. This is quite nice. But take me through the process of deciding that leading up to the Chicago Marathon, I'm going to stay around the U of I campus here and hang out with Adam.
Yeah, so I was just kind of, planning my trip to the USA and come out to Chicago Marathon, and I thought I may as well come out, a week or so earlier, and my coach Ian Murphin's good friends with Adam, so kind of got me in here, and it's amazing to train. I normally train on my own or with a couple of boys, so it's amazing to come out here and train with, the top women in para sport and wheelchair racing right now. So, to train with Tatiana McFadden it's incredible. She is an icon and she's someone that everyone wants to be as good as. So to be on the track with her and to be learning, and she's very good. She's very nice as well. Mm-hmm. So she's good at kind of teaching some little tips.
Sure. So being alongside Tatiana for a little bit, what have you learned about your own racing technique?
Yeah, like here they do a lot of drafting. So I've learned a lot about staying in the pack, because at home, as I said, I train on my own, so I don't really get much opportunity to do that. So it's normally when I'm in my 800 metres, at World Championships is kind of all about learning to stay in the pack, whereas here, there's so many of them and they sit together really nice in the pack, and they do, a lot of testing on how well to sit in and how close to sit in, and it's all about confidence, I think. So I've learned a lot about that this week.
Sure. So if you train by yourself, then how do you kind of judge your growth? I feel like that would be different.
Yeah, it's tough. Normally it's just by my speed, so I've got like a Garmin. I track my speeds each week, and we do some time trials and things like that. And that's really, that's how I can judge. Whereas you come out here, and obviously I'm a T53, so I race with Chelsea and things, so you can see where you are when you're actually racing against someone that's in the same class as you.
Mm-hmm. So the Chicago Marathon is your first marathon. Very cool. What's it like leading up to your first ever marathon?
Yeah, leading up to my first marathon, it's pretty scary. I'm obviously used to the track. I'm used to seeing the finish line, and it's just, I think it's the mental aspect I'm most worried about. Is, it's 26 miles. It's a long way to concentrate for, to keep your technique and just to keep going for. So no, I'm excited to do something. It's it's a real challenge for me. So it should be alright.
Oh, sure. Now, what kind of goals or expectations have you set for yourself as to how to stay focused for 26 miles?
Yeah, so I have to do 2:05 to qualify, so that's the first aim. And then I've kind of set myself little targets for each 5 miles, so I'll have my Garmin on, so I'm kind of going to try and aim for a time for each 5 miles, try and hit that time. And I'm hoping that that'll kind of distract me. I've never been to Chicago, so I'm sure there'll be lots to look at as well to try and distract me from watching the Garmin and the miles too much.
Sure, okay. So if this is your first Chicago Marathon, is there a sort of a culture shock coming over here and hanging out with Tatiana and Adam and all these people?
Yeah, so I come from Scotland, and I live on the Scottish borders, and I'm from a really small place with just farmland and things like that around me. So, when I fly into New York or I fly into Chicago, it's just like, these are really big buildings and there's loads of people. It's completely different, but I do like it. I quite enjoy the way I live in, the way they train here as well. I really enjoy. They get up really early in the morning, they get their session out, obviously, sometimes due to the temperatures and things like that, which I'm not used to in Scotland. Even now they're like, it's not that warm, and I'm like, I'm sweating, I'm so hot. But yeah, it's great.
Good, yeah. It gets really hot here sometimes. Yeah. So growing up in Scotland, how does the popularity of the Paralympic movements compare with the U.S. here?
I think in Britain it's really good. I think obviously after London 2012, so I started in 2012 and watched London 2012 on the telly, and it was very inspiring. I think the Paralympic movement has gotten a lot better, but we don't really have anything like this here. Not all our athletes come to one area to train, which I think is really great. We're all spread across Britain and only train together, at major events or once a year. Not very often at all, which I think would be the thing, because obviously, as I said, the drafting thing's a very big issue. I don't get to do that very often, and it would be great for me to train with other girls who are in Britain, but we're just all so far away. But yeah, this is a great place for everyone to be together, and their programmes run by one person and things like that. But in Britain, people are starting to be very aware of parasport, and I go into quite a lot of schools and talk about parasport, and they all know like David Weir, they know Tatiana, and they know the greats in this sport. So that's really great to see.
So is the London 2012 Paralympics kind of an inspirational moment for you, and thinking, man, that's something I want to go for?
Yeah, I remember watching London, and I'd never been aware of parasport, and it was just that moment where I thought, wow, that's really cool. And I remember one day just thinking, I really want to be, one day I want to be on the track, and I managed to get there obviously for London World Championships, and it was an incredible moment just to be like, I remember watching this and saying, Dad, one day I'm going to be there, and him being like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then me actually being there, it was pretty incredible.
Nice. And how are your parents feeling about all your traveling and now getting medals? How do they feel?
They love it. They really love it, and since we didn't have anything to do with parasport when I was younger, they love being involved. My dad really is really into all the technical side and everything like that, the maidens, and he's always looking for better ways to run my chair. And they love travelling with me. I try and take them to as many places as possible, just so that they get the experience as well as I do, because I come home and I've got so many exciting things to tell them, and I'm like, I'd love for you to see this place, it's so amazing. And I'm sure one day I'll bring my dad out to USA.
Nice. So from Champaign, what's the most exciting thing you're going to bring back home until then?
The most exciting thing? Oh my goodness, I'm not sure yet. Obviously, hopefully if I do a really good time in the marathon, I'll be able to phone my dad and tell him that, because I think they're a bit worried about me going out and doing 26 miles. I'm like, going to go really fast for the first 200 and then probably just die. That'll be me.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So what was kind of the deciding moment for you and thinking, I want to try out a marathon in Chicago? What kind of inspired that?
Yeah, so for Commonwealth Games for us is next April, and it's in Australia, and just thought that's a pretty cool place to go. I'll go there, but unfortunately for me there's only 1500 metres and a marathon. So I qualified for the 15 earlier in the season on track, and then it was kind of like trying to fit a marathon in a time before qualification ends, and then obviously I couldn't do it during the World Championships or anything or before it, so I kind of had to find one that fitted in pretty well, and I told my coach if I'm doing it, I'm going somewhere nice and new to do it. So I chose Chicago as somewhere nice and new to try out my first marathon.
Sure. Now you mentioned your team is kind of spread out in Europe. How does your coach kind of oversee everybody and make sure everybody is progressing adequately?
Yeah, so we have two coaches pretty much. So I have my own personal coach, which is Ian Murphy, and then we have our head coach, which is Jenny Banks, and she just oversees from down in England, and she just checks kind of a yearly plan for you. But it's my personal coach that does, the runnings a week in, week out. So he just kind of has to concentrate on me, so that's not so bad.
Okay, and he's traveling with you here to Champaign. How is the travel for you across countries and using a chair too? Is that all right?
Yeah, I find it okay. It's pretty scary sending your chair out off into the hold and hoping it's going to come back in one piece, because obviously the racing chairs are very expensive and it's very scary. It's a long way and I might not be able to get what I need to fix it when I get over. So it's that's the scariest thing. I find travelling okay. I've been very lucky that I haven't, touch wood, lost or broken anything so far, and I love it. I'm still like a child. I get very excited when I'm going on a plane and going somewhere new, and I really enjoy it.
Nice. What's been your favourite place to visit in all of your travels?
I went to the Rio Paralympics and I really enjoyed that. That was a real culture shock for me. It was just completely different to anything I've ever been used to in my life. The poverty, and you just don't expect it to be so open and for you to be able to see it. And I just thought, the favelas and how they build their houses, and I just thought it was incredible. I went up Sugarloaf Mountain and you've seen Christ of Redeemer, and I think it's a really beautiful place, and I did enjoy going there.
Very cool. So I'm sure you want to kind of bring that excitement from Rio into maybe Tokyo.
Yeah, that's obviously that's the main dream, is try and get to Tokyo and try and chase a medal as hard as possible. Tokyo will be incredible. I'm really excited for Tokyo. All my friends and family have started to save already for them going to Tokyo, so
wow.
They're pretty positive that I'll be there. So hopefully I can do that for them, which would be incredible.
Sure. And do you have a favorite food here in Champaign or in the U.S. that you just love?
Favorite food?
I've heard a lot of people say the burgers are good here in the U.S. I think we're well known for that.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if I've had a burger here yet. I've been out a couple of days. We went to a Mexican and we went to an Indian, and they were both really nice. I think Chicago, I'm definitely having a deep pan pizza. I don't think I've ever had one before in my life, and I'm like, that's what I'll be having after my marathon.
There you go. Oh man, so they don't have deep pan pizza in England or Europe?
No, it's normally flat. Flat pizzas. They're not often. I've never seen one.
Oh, interesting. All right, Sammi. Well, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate your time. It's been fun talking with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, well, we'll be right back for Rollin Illini here on WPGU 107.1 and UPTV. Alright, welcome back to Rollin Illini here on WPGU 107.1 and UPTV. That was a fun interview with Sammi Kinghorn, but now we're in for something even more fun. We have 8-time Boston Marathon winner, not bad, Jean Driscoll.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. In this kind of gray weather, raining a little bit. But Jean, we have the Chicago Marathon on Sunday.
Yeah.
For you, when you were racing, what was the lead up to a marathon like that?
Well, my story's funny because I never wanted to do a marathon. It took my coach 2 years to talk me into doing a marathon. Who wants to do a 26.2-mile race?
And raced.
Yeah. So to appease my coach, I said, okay, I'll do one marathon and one marathon only. And the Chicago Marathon actually was my first marathon. And I ended up finishing 8 seconds under 2 hours. And my coach said, you qualified for Boston. I said, I am never doing another marathon. It's going to take the rest of my life to recover. But my coach was from the South Shore of Boston. So there was no getting out of the Boston Marathon. Following spring, I went out to Boston, sitting on the starting line. I didn't think I belonged in that race because Boston's famous for its hills. It's got Heartbreak Hill. Heartbreak Hill is a series of hills 2 miles long. Where in East Central Illinois are there hills with names?
2 miles? I just said 2 blocks.
How about a hill with a name? I can tell you, it's an I-57 overpass. It's an I-74 overpass. Those are the only hills with names.
Oh, Lord.
So big, it has its own
Huge
name.
hills.
Exactly.
Heartbreak Hill, that just lets you know, like, it's not
You
a
may
good,
not make it
when
on
you
the
get
other.
there, you get separated. Who wants it, who
Sure.
doesn't?
Yeah.
So what kept you in the marathoning then?
Well, it was my senior year when I went out to Boston, and I was yelling at my coach under my breath, not believing I belonged in the race as I sat on the starting line. And 26.2 miles later, I won my first Boston and broke the world record by almost 7 minutes. And because wheelchair racing is not governed under the NC2A, I got to keep the $25,000 in prize money
Hey.
for breaking the world record.
That is pretty cool. That's a nice check to come away with as a college senior.
I wasn't mad at my coach either anymore.
Were you surprised at all by the finish? Like,
Totally. Well, my teammate Ann, who's also an Illini, we thought she would win. So my far-reaching goal was to finish second or third. And I ended up passing Ann at mile 20, right in the middle of Heartbreak Hill. Didn't realize I was in the middle of Heartbreak Hill and went on to win it. But I thought it was a fluke. And I really cooked my goose because as the champion, I had to go back to Boston the next year. So I went back to Boston I did the Chicago Marathon that following fall, and then I went back to Boston and ended up winning a second time, breaking the world record a second time. So I was like, all right, coach sees something in me I'm not seeing, and clearly he's right.
Wow. So what was it like breaking the world record? Not only breaking it, but breaking it by so much. Did other racers have the chance to, I guess, break the record as well? Because 7 minutes in a record is a lot of time. We're
It's
talking about
a lot
racing.
of
That's
time.
a lot of seconds. 7 seconds is a lot of time. 7 minutes is incredible.
Yeah. I was blown away by the time, and really there are years when I finished, like my Illini teammate, I think she was only 35 seconds behind me when I won that first year.
Wow.
There are years that I've won by 23 seconds, and there are also years that I lost in a final sprint by 0.2 of a second. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After all that.
Losing it right at the finish line.
Oh, man. So, and then you went on to be in the Boston Marathon 10 more times. It's 11 times total.
Right.
Not bad.
Yeah, you
So-
did your research.
Thanks for notes. No, but, so when you beat the world record 2 times, were you amazed? And how soon after you finished did you realize you beat the record?
Well, just like cyclists have little cyclocomputers on their bikes and it tells them miles per hour, average speed, max speed, time, distance, we have that same technology on our chairs. So I had calculated in my head, even that first year, that I was under world record time. And the next year I went back, I was under world record time. The first 5 times I did the Boston Marathon, I broke the world record every time. Every time. My coach was the best in the world. And I still have a very, very close relationship with him, even though I've long since retired from athletics and he's long since retired from coaching. But when you have people who see that something special and don't let you settle, those are important people to have in your life.
So what did that mean to you to have somebody see something in you that maybe you had not.
It changed my life. Actually, coming to Illinois was because Brad Hedrick, who's a former director of DRES, the Division of Disability Resources and Educational Services, he was the wheelchair basketball coach in the 1980s. The 1980s, when I was a college student, he had come up to my hometown of Milwaukee, saw me playing a game of wheelchair soccer, saw how it could transfer over to wheelchair basketball, and started recruiting me here to University of Illinois to play wheelchair basketball. Being from Wisconsin, though, I was all caught up in what cheeseheads think, and I thought, Illinois doesn't have anything to offer me. But after a year of letters and phone calls, I thought, wow, somebody wants me on their team, and that meant a lot to me. So Brad Hedrick is the reason I came to the University of Illinois. I played basketball as an undergrad for 4 years under him. I loved being one of his athletes. At the same time, I also got involved in the track and road racing program, so I was a dual sport athlete when I was on campus. And I was doing 2 and 3 workouts a day. I didn't know where any of the campus bars were, and I used to get teased about that. People in the dorms would say, hey, we're going to see you at Daniels. I was like, where's that? There was no time for that in my world.
Oh man, yeah, I've heard the crazy schedule of being a dual sport athlete, 2 workouts a day, maybe 3. Take me through your schedule of being in 2 different sports. I can't imagine that.
Right now, and how did you have the motivation to kind of keep going?
And classes.
You get so tired.
Yeah.
Physically.
Yeah, but there's a fire inside. Have you ever had a fire inside for something?
Oh, every time I come on this show.
Okay,
It's lit.
Right answer.
Right now.
Right answer. When I was an undergraduate student, I took as many early classes as I could. Then I would go and either do a pushing workout either on the track or on the road. Then I might go get lunch, rest a little bit, go to basketball practice. On the next day, I probably would do a weight workout and go play basketball. I remember we had basketball every day. There were no days off in basketball except for Sundays. Usually we were competing on weekends, though, so really we were competing Saturdays and Sundays and practicing Mondays through Fridays, except for Friday when that was a travel day. Then we'd be traveling. But for racing, we would go to basketball tournaments in Wisconsin and Minnesota, and we would bring these things called rollers, which are like big cylindrical tubes, and you can wheel in place in your racing chair on them. We would set those up in the hotel room, and in between games, we wouldn't just play one game. We would have at least 3 games in a weekend, maybe more. We would do our racing workouts in between the games. So we were super fit, super strong, and it felt good to be an Illinois athlete. And by then, I was an Illinois athlete.
How were the training facilities then compared to what they look like now on campus?
The training facilities now are amazing, but I would say in terms of wheelchair racing and wheelchair basketball, we still had a pretty good setup at DRES. My favorite workouts were the weight workouts, and in the best year, the best shape of my life, my peak strength, I could bench press 210 pounds, and I weighed 112 pounds.
These guys were chuckling, by the way, because James just went through a workout with, he did the wheelchair basketball workout with the lifting, and it was a lot for him to handle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I joke with one of my, the former producer, Kane Walters. I joke with him all the time about his wheelchair basketball workouts. And he calls me scrawny, which I am. I'm skinny. I love it. I love being skinny. So I told him, I was like, I'm tired of you talking. I'm going to do it. And it's the reason why I don't lift weights. It hurt so bad. It hurt so bad the next day. So, yeah, hats off to you.
But that's when you're not into it. Once you get into a routine and your muscles are used to being stressed and worked hard, you just keep getting more buff and more buff. Isn't that motivating? Does that build a fire?
It does. It does. I told him my motivation back, like when I was in high school, was for sports. And after I stopped playing in high school, I don't play like on teams or anything now. I don't do it for like looks. So I was like, I'm done with it forever. But I went back one time just for Rollin Illini and hurt myself. It was a good time.
But you made it.
Exactly. But again, the 210-pound bench press is unbelievable. I think mine was like 195. And obviously, I think I weighed a little more than you back then. So.
Yeah, and one interesting discussion we had before you came on air was that you have 2 Olympic medals.
Yes.
We have an Olympian here. This is great. But I know we had discussed this, but take our listeners through how that was possible. Nowadays, we don't see too many Paralympians who also have Olympic medals.
That's right.
But there are exceptions.
Yes. Well, one of the greatest experiences is to represent your country and wear that USA. Although I was really proud wearing Illinois too. In 1984, for the first time at an Olympic Games, there were 2 wheelchair exhibition events. There was an 800-meter event for women, which is 2 laps around the track, and a 1,500-meter event for men, which is almost 4 laps around the track, minus 100-meter curve. Sharon Hedrick, who has the same last name as Brad Hedrick, the guy that recruited me here, they're married. Sharon Hedrick was a phenomenal wheelchair athlete, and in 1984, she won the first Olympic medal ever given to an athlete with a disability. She won the women's 800-meter event. Wow. She broke the world record, and she was the first because the women's event was before the men's event. And the medal ceremony for the women was before the men's ceremony. So officially, she was the first athlete with a disability to win an Olympic gold medal. So there already was this legendary history. When I came to the U of I didn't qualify for the Olympic event in 1988. I was too green at the time. But in 1992, I went to Spain, and I got a silver medal. Gal from Denmark got my gold medal. And 1996, the games were in Atlanta. There's nothing like competing in your own home country for the Olympic Games. And a girl from Australia got my gold medal by 23 100ths of a second. But it was awesome racing. 23 100ths of a second. Choom, choom. I mean, that's how fast you're coming across the line. And people could see that this is competitive sport. And we were flying around the track. So to get, first of all, to represent your country is quite an honor, but then to have a medal is, that's icing on the cake, as they say. It was incredible.
That does sound incredible. I can only imagine, just having not only like your Olympic crowd, but having that U.S. Olympic crowd around you.
Have you guys ever heard of Michael Johnson?
I have not.
He is a very, very famous U.S. sprinter. And in 1996, he had these gold shoes that he wore. He's an able-bodied sprinter, able-bodied Olympic sprinter. He had gold shoes that Nike had made him. And nobody had ever won the 200, 400 double. I think I'm saying that right. Anyway, the night that I received my Olympic gold medal in Atlanta, he was running the 200-meter event. And so there were 86,000 people in the stadium. It was packed. And we got our medals right before he ran. So the gal from Australia got the gold medal, and people clapped politely. And then when they announced me as being the silver medalist from the United States of America, it was like 86,000 people rose and gave me a standing ovation. I still get chills thinking about it.
Yeah, incredible.
It was the president of the International Olympic Committee gave us our medals that year, and it's a special memory.
And that might not be one you'll ever forget.
I'll never forget it. No.
Well, Gina, I sure love talking with you, but we have some Illinois hockey tonight.
Excellent.
So thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for the invitation. This is fun.
Yeah, great. And you're welcome on any time. Seriously.
Thank you. Go Illini.
Yeah, all right. Well, thanks for listening to Rollin Illini here on WPGU 107.1 and UPTV. For James Boyd, Will Gerard, Gene Driscoll, I'm Ryan Wilson.